This playlist collects together and organizes the modules for the first of 2 lectures on concepts. In this first lecture on concepts, we're going to start off by talking just about the general role of concepts in cognition. Then we'll turn our attention to 3 key features of concepts that allow them to facilitate those roles. Then we'll turn our attention to 4 distinct areas of research about the nature of concepts within cognitive science. We'll conclude the lecture by turning our attention to specific theories. We'll start with the classical view of theories. We'll talk about its strengths and its weaknesses. Then we'll turn our attention to a group of theories referred to as the similarity of probability view. And we'll look at instances of prototype theory and of exemplar theory of that kind of view and talk about their strengths and their weaknesses as well. So let's talk about the role of concepts and those key features. So when we think about the role of concepts in cognition, we want to think about 2 important roles that they play. On the one hand, concepts provide a fundamental typing of objects, of properties, events, relationships. They allow us to represent an event, an object, a property as a kind of thing. We can re-identify it across space, across time as an instance of the same kind of thing. It's because we're able to do that we're also able to encode our past experiences, our knowledge about kinds of things, so that we can take our experiences from different places and different times, get that knowledge, and we have a ready access to that. It's been encoded under a specific kind of representation, a kind of thing. It has a specific organization, relationship to other kinds of things, and it can be retrieved and used for problem solving and decision making quickly and easily because of that. So these 2 general roles of concepts are going to be very important. And then I'm going to talk about 3 different features, key features of concepts that facilitate their serving those roles in cognition. So the first feature we want to look at is that concepts promote cognitive economy. And of course, we'll talk about this more in just a bit, but the idea behind cognitive economy is that concepts allow us to categorize objects as kinds of things and then to have immediate, ready access to a manageable amount of tractable and reliable information for the purposes of problem solving and decision making. So cognitive economy is balancing too much and too little information, including relevant information, useful information, excluding irrelevant information, useless information. Of course, concepts don't always promote cognitive economy, and so sometimes they fail to promote it, and we'll see how that works. The second feature that we want to look at is that concepts facilitate encoding, organization, and retrieval of our knowledge. And as we'll see, oftentimes we'll find that failures in encoding, organization, or retrieving of knowledge causes failures in inferences and decision making. Finally, concepts facilitate both learning about the world and inductive inferences about the world. And so we'll look at how that happens and then look at how concepts can fail to facilitate that key feature as well. All right, here's John Locke. Locke was one of the first philosophers to talk about concepts as a means of categorization and organization of our knowledge. And so he's a good spokesperson for talking about how cognitive psychologists, cognitive neuroscience, philosophers, cognitive science generally think about concepts. And specifically, psychologists, neuroscientists, philosophers, they assume that concepts are the basic constituents of thought and belief. That is, they play a major functional role in any intelligent system. So you can't create an AI system that doesn't have something that serves the role that concepts serve. And the most fundamental of those roles is that concepts facilitate categorization. They allow us to take a complex and highly variable world and to simplify it by organizing it into a set of objects, properties, relationships, events, instances of the same type of thing. And in doing so, we're able to now think about that object in a way that we can re-identify it across space or across time. We can organize our knowledge around that categorization. And so Smith suggests that by facilitating categorization, concepts really perform a number of very central functions, functions that are essential to cognition. The first of these is what I call cognitive economy. So when we have this massive amount of highly variable information coming into us through our senses, our ability to categorize those experiences allows us to think about objects or properties, relationships or events in terms of general classes. And in doing so, we can decrease the amount of information about an individual object that we have to perceive, learn, remember, communicate, reason about, or use in our decision making. So concepts allow us to decrease the amount of information that we need from our highly variable and super abundant information coming to us through our senses. This GIF I have here illustrates this point very nicely. As we watch it cycle through all these images, we quickly and easily recognize that they are images of bottles, even though they differ in terms of their size, their shape, their color, their material constitution, their number, their specialized purpose. We recognize them instantly over and over again as bottles, whether they're baby bottles or hot water bottles or wine bottles. We recognize them as bottles, and we immediately have access to information about the sorts of things that they are, the sorts of decisions that we can make, inferences that we need to make about them to interact with them in a more optimal way. So concepts promote cognitive economy, and the concepts provide us with these general classifications for objects, properties, events, or relations. And they provide us with a ready access to a manageable amount of highly relevant information for interacting with objects of that type. Of course, concepts can fail to promote cognitive economy as well, right? So cognitive economy, as I've been talking about it, is this balancing act between too much information and too little information. If we have too little information, then we can't make good inferences, we can't make good decisions, we don't have enough information. We have too much information, it overwhelms our resources, it takes too much time to sort through. We want to strike a balance between too much and too little information. We want to strike a balance between what's likely to be relevant or useful information and what's likely to be irrelevant or useless information on average across our experiences with those kinds of things. And this is what cognitive economy is. It's striking that mean amongst these extremes. Concepts can also fail to promote cognitive economy. And they can fail to promote cognitive economy when they fail to include relevant information, or when they include irrelevant information or inaccurate information, when they include too much information or just too little information. So, for example, if we think about strangers and we think that they generally pose more danger than friends and family, that's a failure of cognitive economy, because statistically speaking, the people who are most likely to kill you, most likely to cause you harm, are the people who are your friends, your family, and yourself. So we'll pick that up in the next lecture module.